カードームのリング上 NWA 世界ヘビー級選手権
This is the main event of the evening for the World Heavyweight Championship and Gold Belt as recognized by the National Wrestling Alliance. 2 out of 3 falls, 1 hour time limit, 2-minute rest period between the falls. The referee is Lee Warren. Introducing first, from Minneapolis, Minnesota, weighing 243 pounds, the World Heavyweight Champion, Nature Boy Ric Flair.
リングアナウンサーのラリー・マッチックによりまして第62代 NWA 世界ヘビー級チャンピオンリック・フレア紹介されました。
And the challenger,
back. Look where his head is. You can see it popping out on the other side of Brody's knees, but that was all because of the pressure Brody was applying to the back of the head. Flair, however, awes the ring general, rolling to the ropes. The referee not too impressed. That's not clearly entangled in the ropes. Flair decides that won't work, and he's still stuck in the head scissors of King Kong Brody. Flair, a former football player at the University of Minnesota before he went into wrestling, trained by the great Vern Gagne. Part of the class that Gagne trained, one of his teammates when Gagne was training young wrestlers, was also Ken Patera. Now Flair starting to pop that head out. The head's starting to come out. Now it's Flair who has some leverage. He's bending down on the ankles, and Brody gives up the head scissors. He's out, but Brody kicking away. There's the strength of that, those millions and millions of squats as Flair catapulted across the ring. Brody right on top of him. The crowd screamed. They're waiting for the volcano to explode. Lee Warren trying to keep order. Brody with an arm whip across the ring into the corner. Back body drop. Flair sailing high in the air in the Checker Dome before he crashes to the mat, and then a kick to the head by King Kong Brody. Flair trying to come up, and Brody with another boot right to the side of the face of Ric Flair. A punch to the stomach by Ric Flair. That slows up Brody. Headbutt to the stomach by Ric Flair. And then very simple thing, just gouging the eye, and that takes a little of the balance, a little of the momentum away from King Kong Brody, trying to find his way around that ring. Blinded momentarily, but lashes out with a boot. Right now it's a slugfest between Flair and Brody. Flair with an elbow to the top of Brody's head, and he pitches Brody through the ropes and out of the ring to the floor of the Checker Dome. But look at Brody stomping around the ring, angrily crawling back in. Do you want to play that way? And that crowd standing, screaming. Now it's Flair who bails out when it's Brody in the ring. Remember how that sequence started? It was Flair who threw Brody out. It ends up with Flair jumping out because Brody was on the warpath. And you can bet that Ric Flair, who lost that little test of wills right there, is going to use a full 20 count outside the ring. He blocks it. Brody was also a tough man to slam. Claimed that nobody could body slam him or suplex him. Flair couldn't do it there, but oh, look at this. Brody with a suplex on Flair. Flair tried the suplex, failed. Brody tried the suplex, and he scored with the suplex. Again, that crowd screaming. Brody lining him up, going to the air for a quick stomp on the head of Ric Flair. The crowd was simply dynamite that night at the Checker Dome. I remember it well. And even Ric Flair would tell you today it was one of his most favorite matches, one of his most favorite moments in wrestling, because the St. Louis crowd was so intense, so filled with energy and excitement. It was like electricity inside that building. Herb Simmons, who's helped produce all these Wrestling at the Chase and classic St. Louis wrestling shows, Herb was at the card, and he's always told me too. He said, I just couldn't sit. I could hardly sit down. It was just so exciting to be in that building. It was just like electricity throughout the crowd, all 16,765. Flair and Brody again going at it toe-to-toe. Brody knocked back into the corner by Flair. Flair grabbing the arm, trying the arm whip. Nope, Brody won't come. Brody won't come. He's hanging onto the rope. Flair can't pull him out of that corner. Trying. Well, we'll take the chop to the throat and see if that works. No, Brody, like the arch. Look at the balance he has, those legs spread, and Flair says, let me think about this. Again, a test of wills between Brody and Flair, something that Flair generally was able to do to an opponent he could not do to King Kong Brody right there in that instance. And it shakes him, it rattles him, it has to. He goes to the body slam, but Flair can't get him up. Flair couldn't get Brody up, but Brody again, he gets Flair into the air. Walks halfway across the ring. Look at him, high into the air. Oh, big body slam by King Kong Brody. Once more, Flair foiled. First he tried to slam Brody, couldn't do it, and then Brody slammed Flair. Flair quick to kick out at the count of one by Lee Warren. Front face lock by King Kong Brody. Simple hold, rest hold, hardly. Simple ones hurt the most. Ask anybody. Ask Luthez. Ask Pat O'Connor. Ask Harley Race. Ask any of the guys who've been around this business for any length of time. Ask Ric Flair. How hard was it to breathe for Ric Flair right there? Brody's not strangling, but think of how he's pinching the cheeks together, leaning into him, bending his chin up into his own chest. Also now on top of it, 280 plus pounds on top of Flair's body as he tries to keep his shoulders up. Think of this, the tremendous strain on the spine, on the neck of Ric Flair as King Kong Brody leans on him, uses his full weight. Again, trying to take some of the stamina away from Ric Flair. Balancing up, Lee Warren right there. Talk about good referee work. You talk about good referee work. Belly down, Joe Schoenberger, the great referee from St. Louis, who was there on January the 7th, 1966, when Gene Kiniski dethroned Luthez for the World Heavyweight title at Kiel Auditorium. Joe Schoenberger taught Lee and his brother Ed Warren refereeing. And one thing he always stressed was belly down. When a guy's got his shoulders down to the mat, you got to be down on the mat too. Your belly's got to be down so you can see both those shoulders. And Lee Warren did a textbook example of it right there. Shoulder blast to the stomach by Flair. Another chop to the throat. That's always been a staple of Flair's attack. Flair, flying mare, Brody down. Now it's Flair clamping the head of Brody, using some of Brody's own intentions on Brody, some of Brody's own strategy. Look where the elbows are, either side of the cheekbone, pinching the mouth together, forcing Brody to try to breathe through his nose. Now they've already been in here 15 minutes. You know you're puffing and having trouble breathing right now. Think when your mouth is being squeezed together, it not only hurts, but it's hard to breathe. And that's what Ric Flair is trying to do to Brody. Really, both have probably recognized by this point that of win. Ric Flair has to win a fall. He's down 1 fall to none. He knows now the pressure's on him. The shoe is definitely on the other foot. Flair punishing the windpipe of King Kong Brody. Again, breathing, stamina becoming so important. Flair grabbing the arm. Ooh, a punch right into the short rib. Again, attacking that side, the ribs, trying to hurt Brody, where every man, no matter how strong, no matter how many muscles he has, they're vulnerable there. Brody caught in the corner by Ric Flair. Flair leaning into him, trying to stay close to him, trying to take away the size advantage that Brody has, the strength advantage. We talk about a strength advantage for King Kong Brody, sure, but let's not kid ourselves. That doesn't mean Ric Flair was weak. To the contrary, Ric Flair was a finely tuned athlete at the height of his skills right now as the world heavyweight champion. He hooks the arm. Basic arm lock now, trying to punish the shoulder a little bit. Can he weaken, even if it's only 5%? Even if it's only 5%, can he weaken one side of King Kong Brody, where Brody would favor it, and open up a spot where Flair could attack and perhaps get a pin to even this match at 1 fall apiece? Twisting the arm, turning the wrist, bending the hand back, anything to punish King Kong Brody. And once again here, just as in the first fall, Ric Flair, his wrestling ability coming to the forefront and creating a problem for King Kong Brody. Knee drop right into the elbow. Well, here's a story most people don't know about King Kong Brody. Probably about this point in his career was when that left elbow of Brody was actually broken. He had a hairline fracture in the elbow he never took time off for, because this is professional wrestling. You don't get to go on the disabled list. You don't keep making $10 million a year when you're sitting at home cutting your fingernails. You have to work if you want to make money. Brody's left elbow had a lot of punishment over the years, and by the time before he passed away in 1988, I would guess in early 87, he showed me how his left hand had basically He came within a quarter of a count of making it one fall apiece. Elbow drop by Flair, trying for the pin. Count of 2, count of, and Brody kicks out again. King Kong Brody hurt after Flair delivered the suplex. Flair going behind him, pulling the hair back. What does Flair have in mind? Going for the abdominal stretch. The abdominal stretch on King Kong Brody. Not an easy hold to get on somebody like Brody because of the strength, the length of his body. Once upon a time, back in the 50s and 60s, this was a killer submission hold for a gentleman by the name of Wilbur Snyder, who ought to be in the Hall of Fame of Wrestling if he isn't. Wilbur Snyder popularized the abdominal stretch. By now, a lot of people knew that flexibility was a key, and certainly Brody was one of the first big men to realize it. And that's why the abdominal stretch here is not getting a submission, because Brody worked constantly on flexibility, just as Flair did. Flair perhaps not realizing how much effort Brody put into that, and the abdominal stretch perhaps not as effective as Flair thought it would be on King Kong Brody. He thought Brody was hurting after that suplex, and he probably still is, and this puts pressure in the same place as the suplex rattled. But now the abdominal stretch, he can't get the submission. He can't get the submission from King Kong Brody. Lee Warren's right there to check it. Brody, what's he doing? Is he trying to move out of it? Yeah, he's getting that top arm free. Brody moving behind Flair, and he has the opposite arm of Flair. Oh, what do we have here? It's Brody reversing the abdominal stretch onto Ric Flair. Ric Flair now, he's the one trapped in the abdominal stretch by King Kong Brody. It's not exactly textbook by Brody, but it's an abdominal stretch, and he's twisting Flair pretty successsupply. Not enough to get a submission, not quite. He can't quite get underneath him, but from Brody's standpoint, what he's done, he's escaped the suplex that nearly pinned him. He's escaped the abdominal stretch that caused him trouble. He's dodged a bullet, and he's still up 1-0 over Ric Flair. 2 falls out of 3 for the World Heavyweight Championship. Both men starting to feel the effects of this match now. We're nearly at 40 minutes into the match. Think of the energy, think of the conditioning that's being tested here between Flair and Brody. Flair getting right on top of him. Flair's had his best success when he stayed on top of him, and Brody couldn't use his longer arms and his longer legs and couldn't unleash all of his violence onto Ric Flair. Brody pushed into the corner by Flair. Flair strangling Brody. Making no bones about it, he's willing to work the count of 5 before disqualification. He breaks at 4. 5 would be a disqualification. Lee Warren and Ric Flair toe-to-toe, nose-to-nose. Flair on top of Brody, grabbing him by the throat again. He's going to work that count as far as he can. Warren trying to break him up because now Brody's strangling Flair. Both men strangling each other. You talk about going for everything you can. Oh, hanging him high by King Kong Brody. Shades of Big Bill Miller right there as he lifted Flair by the throat and flung him across the ring like a sack of potatoes. Flair made the mistake of going into the power matchup with Brody, and that never works. Big forearm smashes right onto the chest of Flair. Quick try for a pin by Brody, but Flair, hey, he was down for 2. You never know. You never know. Flair trying to come to his feet, frustrated surely at this point, because when he got that suplex, he had to think, oh, this is it. I have it. Brody going for the pile driver. Brody looking for the pile driver. Flair trying to scoot to the ropes and get away. Oh, yes, Flair knew one thing he didn't want there was to have his head driven into that checkered dome mat. That could have been curtains for Ric Flair and his reign as World Heavyweight Champion. Again, toe-to-toe, Flair and Brody, Flair and Brody. Brody pushing Flair towards the ropes, trying to use his power on him, whipping him across the ring. Oh, Flair nearly catapulted over the top rope, hung out to dry like Monday morning's wash. Ric Flair upside down, hanging in the corner, vulnerable for Brody, driving both forearms right into the ribs of Ric Flair. Oh, now it's Flair in deep. deep trouble, down one fall to none. He can't lose this fall. And Brody's going to try to punish Flair, and Flair is going to try to hang onto those ropes and stay in that corner. The last place Ric Flair wants to be right now is in the middle of the ring, where he can't get to the ropes to break a potential count of 3. Brody bringing Flair up. You can see the match taking its toll on both men now. We're well at the 40-minute mark. Elbow smash to the head of Ric Flair. Look how good of a ring general Flair is, though, as he tried to stay by the ropes, but now Brody realized it cuts him off from the ropes, and Flair is forced to back up into the middle of the ring. Not where he wanted to be. Not where Ric Flair wanted to be, as Brody bangs on the head. Brody with another smash to the head of Ric Flair. Flair taking his lumps at the hands of King Kong Brody. Flair, oh, can he come up? And Brody's got to be thinking right now, if I could land one more big knee, that gold belt's going around my waist. Flair, groggy, throws a wild punch that misses again. He's knocked in the corner, jumps out of the ring, just simply going for the eyes of Brody. Desperation right there by the World Heavyweight Championship, trying to keep his reign alive. Brody lifting Flair, one more big body slam, throwing him far away from his body. How many body slams has Flair taken in this match? 6, 7, 8? Think they don't take a call on the big knee drop? He misses! Brody missing the knee drop. Flair having enough attention to roll away, and Brody misses the knee drop. How often did you ever see that? Brody was so good at sensing when his opponent was vulnerable for that knee drop. Brody, not even realizing where he is now. They're close to the ropes. Flair didn't know he was that close either, and he kicked out, not knowing he could have taken the easy way out. There's no room for error here. Flair looking maybe he could come down from the top on Brody, who came to his feet slowly, but Brody's there waiting. Brody's there waiting with Flair. Sailing through the sky inside the Checker Dome, it's Ric Flair, compliments of King Kong Brody. Big forearm to the face. Brody leery of going for that knee drop. Think back to that missed knee drop earlier and what a key part of the match that was. Brody obviously had hurt his knee, and he was leery of going for the giant knee drop anymore, especially after the figure 4 leg lock. Flair was able to take one of the signature moves away from King Kong Brody. Brody going for the suplex on Flair. Time running out. Brody going for the suplex. He has him up in the air. Drives him down. Drives him down with the suplex. Going for the pin. Can he get there? Can he get there? No, the referee, the bell has sounded. The bell has sounded. 1 hour has expired as Flair and Brody went at each other, hammer and tong, and here it is.
The 1 hour time limit expired with each man having won a fall. The match between King Kong Brody and Ric Flair is a draw. And Ric Flair retains the World Heavyweight title.
Ric Flair, still the champion. The gold belt going back to Flair on the night of that classic battle